So, without further ado, I'll introduce our first speaker, who will introduce tonight's case for the proposition in the debate, who is Matthew Sullivan, our very own Secretary of the Society. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matt. So, in my speech tonight, I'm going to be giving a quick overview of what no platforming is, giving some examples of who are and are not no platformed, talk about why private organizations should have a right to refuse a platform to speakers, and talk about how this does not, as the opposition might suggest, constitute a violation of their right to freedom of expression. My colleagues are going to go into more detail about why debating people like these doesn't actually result in their ideas losing traction, and in fact usually gives them more supporters, and expand on how no platforming an individual does not violate their right to freedom of expression. So I'd like to begin by explaining what no platforming actually means. In the context of universities, it refers to a National Union of Students policy that no speaker who holds racist or fascist viewpoints should speak at an SU event or enter SU premises. That is, you won't get no platform from a student event for being a Tory or a unionist, but you will get no platform for vocally supporting fascist groups like the English Defence League or the British National Party. To give some more examples, people who would not be no platformed include Arlene Foster, Gerry Adams, David Cameron, or Theresa May, whereas people who are explicitly no platformed by the NUS include Tony Robinson, former leader of the fascist English Defence League, Omar Bakri Mohammed, founder of the Salafi jihadist group Al-Muhajirun, and members of National Action, a neo-Nazi terrorist organization. To reiterate, SU no platform policies in universities are not used as a tool to shut down any form of debate. If they were, then our society probably would have been banned years ago. It's not used to shut down any speaker who holds right-wing viewpoints either. The NUS policy on no platforming only asks that affiliated students' unions do not let fascists or racists use SU resources to spread their ideologies. And it's not like it's forced on them either. They're also very clear that any SU can have any no platforming policy they want, or even just have none. Aside from university students' unions, no platforming more broadly refers to the idea that private organizations should be allowed to refuse a platform to those whose views they hold to be abhorrent, such as aforementioned terrorists and neo-Nazis. Platforming somebody in this context means to allow them to use your resources to spread their ideas. Now, I believe that private individuals and organizations should not be compelled to platform anybody. If I own a microphone, I don't believe the government should be allowed to force me to allow a literal fascist or supporter of terrorism to use my microphone to spread their hateful ideology. The same goes for any resource, be it a stage or students' union building or even a meeting of a debating society. The opposition tonight is going to try and sell you the idea that a private organization refusing to platform a fascist is somehow violating that fascist's right to freedom of expression. But I don't buy that for a second, and you shouldn't either. This isn't a case of the government restricting what these people can say or publish. This is a case of private organizations not being compelled to facilitate the spread of ideas that they consider to be abhorrent. If an organization is not allowed to refuse a platform to somebody, then consider what that actually means. On the opposition side, a fascist or a terrorist supporter can demand that a university students' union let them spread their ideology to students. A hardline dissident Republican can demand that a unionist organization let them stand up and speak in support of the IRA. A hardline dissident loyalist can demand that a nationalist organization let them stand up and speak in support of the UVF. Make no mistake, when these organizations exercise their right to not allow these individuals to speak, they are no platforming those individuals, and I absolutely support their right to do so. Nobody should be forced to facilitate the spread of ideas which they consider to be abhorrent, and to do so would be to violate their right to freedom from compelled speech. On to my final point, why no platforming does not constitute a violation of the right to freedom of expression. The right to freedom of expression or freedom of speech is often misinterpreted, intentionally or not, by people who want to say things that are controversial or offensive. So to clear things up, I'm going to give an overview of what the right to freedom of expression actually means. The actual definition of this right, as stated in Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights ratified by the UK, is as follows. Everybody has the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. There's also a second part that essentially places caveats about things that are not protected speech, like you can't spread hate speech or break professional confidentiality or insinuate without proof that certain people belong to certain terrorist organizations, but that's less relevant here. What I specifically want to call out in that article is that it only restricts what a public authority can stop you from saying, that is, the government. Private organizations have every right to refuse to let you speak for any reason they want. No platforming, therefore, does not violate the right to freedom of expression. It is simply the right of a private organization to refuse you access to their resources. It is, in fact, simply them exercising their right to freedom from compelled speech, because nobody should be compelled to publish or facilitate the promotion of an ideology or idea which they find abhorrent, especially ideas so abhorrent as fascism, racism, or the advocation of terrorist actions. These speakers are still absolutely free to publish these ideas using their own resources or using the resources of organizations which align with them, as they do. To conclude, I've explained what no platforming actually means. I've given some examples of how no platforming is not used as a sledgehammer to restrict right-wing thought. I've explained why private organizations have the right to refuse to platform individuals, and I have explained why no platforming does not constitute a violation of anybody's right to freedom of expression. Do not be fooled by the opposition's claims that they are promoting freedom. They are, in fact, denying the freedom of people and of private organizations to refuse to spread ideas of hate and evil. I urge you to side with the proposition tonight and support the right of private individuals and organizations to no platform, to refuse access to resources, to organizations and individuals who spread ideas that they believe to be abhorrent. Thank you.